Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to our Esports Talk episode. A very quick breakdown, a very debatable point out there, which I'm super curious what you guys think about. That's going to be the acquiring earlier this year, one of the biggest acquirings, if not the biggest we have seen so far in esports, the Immortals buyout of Infinite Entertainment, and with that, their subsidiary company, as many of you guys know, the OpTic Gaming name, brand, and everything beneath it, and including a few of their teams. Now, with this transaction being rumored around $100 million, I say that because many sources out there certainly varied with those amounts. Jacob Wolf, though, did report they actually paid upfront in cash $35 to $45 million, but also took on a lot of the debt that OpTic Gaming had with it. So I will kind of detail all in all what we think they spent, and they're going to break down for all of you guys, was it really worth it to pay supposedly $100+ million all in all for the OpTic Gaming brand and the teams that came along with it and Infinite Entertainment? You guys, of course, please leave your thoughts down below because Immortals Gaming Club, when it comes to esports valuations, they jumped up a lot this year when it came to 2019 numbers, but a large portion of that was, of course, with this acquiring. So along with the $35 to $45 million they paid upfront in cash, they did acquire the debt that OpTic Gaming did have, which, by the way, under Infinite's control, they acquired a lot of debt out there. I'm not trying to brew up anything, okay, guys? I love Hector. I love OpTic. Infinite, I think we can all agree, did not run the company very well, and so with that, the debt actually did compile around $5 million to the LCS, around $10 million to the Overwatch League, and around $17 million to finish out that buyout of OpTic Gaming. All of that debt was actually acquired by Immortals when they bought them out. So you have $35 to $45 million in initial cash offerings. I would say another $40-ish million in debt they still owed to other owners or investors and the like. And on top of that, if you do want to include this, remember, they got that OpTic Gaming brand for Call of Duty League. They still had to pay the entry fee for Call of Duty. So whether or not you want to include that $25+ million, that's up to you. All said and done, I believe that's where the figure of around $100 million would entail, because they bought the OpTic Gaming brand and then had to pay those debts and then had to pay a Call of Duty entry fee. So it depends if you include that $25 million or not, and that's why whether or not this is worth it is up for a lot of debate. Even further, and even when it comes to a Jacob Wolf source out there, it was a bit questionable as to how the sale of one of the giant teams they acquired went down, that being the Houston Outlaws. If you guys know, for Immortals Gaming Club, they already have the LA Valiant, therefore they could not have two teams in the Overwatch League, and so according to Jacob Wolf, they were actually set to make the sale of the Houston Outlaws. It was not clarified, though, if they got the money from that sale. So as they acquired that debt, they acquired the conflict of interest of owning the LA Valiant and the Houston Outlaws. They were forced to make the sale of the Houston Outlaws, and we don't really know with clarification-wise and confirmed that they actually got the money from the sale of Houston Outlaws. Yet again, another big factor of whether or not this is probably worth it to invest $100 million into this buyout. So let's just take that all with a grain of salt, guys. We don't know the exact details of how much they exactly put into this and how much they got out, and so right off the bat, it really makes this move kind of undecidably in terms of a final choice here, whether or not it was a good move. We can't fully know that until that more comes out, if it even ever does. But let's assume they get the money from all of that, right? They put around $100 million into this, so what do they get out? First of which, and first and foremost, what they wanted was to rebrand the OpTic Gaming LCS spot for League of Legends to Immortals and mark their return to League of Legends. A huge power there, and they obviously will have to pay a hefty fee for those salaries, which we will not include. I'll have future videos on this, guys. League of Legends salaries, they make you want to cry sometimes, and so they'll drop a huge amount on that and Call of Duty salaries. When it comes to acquiring that LCS spot, you have to imagine just worth right around $30 million. I base that off Echo Fox. Of course, they sold their spot to Evil Geniuses for right around $30.25 million. So let's say the LCS spot they acquired from OpTic was worth right around $30 million. Then we look at the biggest linchpin of this, that being the sale of Houston Outlaws. We're going to assume yet again those Overwatch prices, they are some of your higher league prices, rumored wise, in terms of upwards of $60 million. I think right now, though, it's with that amount not being disclosed, I think it's fair to assume if they did get a sale price for Houston Outlaws, it would be anywhere from $35 to $45 million on top of the $30 million they acquired from the LCS spots. Now, again, we don't know if they got any of that money, and that's why it's such a huge deciding factor of whether or not this was worth it. On top of that, two more big acquirings brands will be, of course, the OpTic Gaming brand itself for Call of Duty League. You can't really put a value on a brand name like that, right? Because they paid the debt for the OpTic Gaming brand that Infinite still owed. On top of that, they had to invest $25 million for the Call of Duty League to use the OpTic Gaming name. And so putting a number on the OpTic Gaming brand they acquired is very tough, especially at the end of the day. Many of you guys know the green wall, the new OpTic, is not really the old OpTic. And so that following, that brand may be worth substantially less, and putting a number on that brand is nearly impossible, which makes this video incredibly subjective and incredibly speculative from my point. Very lastly, two other rosters as well. The CSGO roster they did acquire, which, by the way, again, a conflict of interest with MIBR. They had to sell off those players, which, by the way, is also not going very well. Config, I do believe, was sold off for probably a decent buyout as he joins his new venture as well. Two players are still currently locked under contract, supposedly a very long contract under the Immortals umbrella. That's MSL, and that's former Heroic Nico, the Danish man himself. They're still trapped there. I don't think they will sell, and even if they do, it's a very, very menial amount compared to what they actually paid overall. So when it comes down for that, guys, the Overwatch spot, the League of Legends LCS spot, the OpTic CSGO roster. Very lastly, again, another mystery mark here is the Gears of War team, because under that OpTic umbrella, they had the single best Gears of War roster in the entire world. They have now re-signed with NRG and Hector back over there, but we do not know if Immortals actually got payment for them, because I do believe they just let them go. I cannot confirm that, but again, another huge decider is did they actually get money for the Houston Outlaws? Did they get money for the best Gears of War team in the world? That's a giant linchpin in what my decision actually is of whether or not this investment was worth it for IGC. And so with all of that being said, I think it's a fair assumption if they did get some sort of buyout for the Houston Outlaws and for the Gears of War roster, it certainly was worth it. Now you take those two away though, and certainly looks like a much more questionable choice. And so until we find out more, I don't think the answer can fully be answered, but at least I laid it out for all of you guys. This was a huge investment. Their valuation has skyrocketed because of this. This was a several figure investment for them, and they got a lot out of it, but a lot of what they got, either they did not get paid for, and especially when it comes to the OpTic Gaming brand, was this really worth it? That to me seems like the most questionable choice, because you think that Immortals, especially when they're already in other franchise leagues, they could have fared pretty well on their own, but they decided, hey, the OpTic Gaming brand is so well known for Call of Duty, let's buy that name. Let's solely buy that brand for the use of Call of Duty League, and then pay 25+ million for the league spot itself, because remember, aside from FaZe Clan getting the Atlanta FaZe, a huge controversy about that in itself, yes, Immortals actually bought this brand solely for Call of Duty because they saw it as the biggest brand in Call of Duty. I'm not sure the return is quite there. I think the general opinion out there is this investment was a risky one, and in terms of actual financials though, do we know if it was worth it or not? As of right now, no, it was certainly risky. They certainly acquired a lot, but when it comes time for a long-term return, we're going to find out if Immortals actually made the smartest choice of 2019 or the dumbest choice when they acquired OpTic and Infinite all in one single cash grab. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy the breakdown of another transaction here at Esports Talk. Anything else you guys want me to cover, our DMs are always open in the comments section. Hey, it's free game. Until then, hope you guys all enjoy. I'll see y'all back here sometime soon. Take care.